Hello, welcome back to another episode of Straight Facts. I'm Terry Fleur, joined by Jessica Black this evening. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Of course, previewing the Man United Arsenal game on the show, doing a combined 11 as well for you. On top of that, we are going to take a look at the big transfer news this afternoon as well, and go for another quick fire round where we take your questions from members and our super chatters. Make sure you're guessing if you are super chatting throughout the course of the show as well for the Football Terrace secret phrase to win a PlayStation 5 football boots, a hoodie, and £100 cash. It's in that golden envelope behind me. I'm good though, and I'm excited. I've also got another game for you all tonight on the show, ladies and gentlemen, where we're going to be showing you a statistical breakdowns of three midfielders in the Premier League, and you've got to pick which one you would sign. At the end, we will be revealing who that midfielder is. So a few games on the show today to play and everything else. But of course, when do you want to? I think maybe we should start with the transfer. It's a big game. How are you how are you feeling about this game tomorrow night? Arsenal corner turned on the up, fighting for top four, coming to Old Trafford, but with a new manager bounce, maybe already in play. Like, how are you feeling about coming to the Theatre of Dreams tomorrow night?
Well, how am I feeling about the Theater of Nightmares? Yeah, um, feeling okay. This is not my favorite fixture because I get way too emotionally involved. It's just not something that I enjoy very much because as an Arsenal fan, of a certain age, I will not say how old I am. You guys probably already know, but this is the rivalry that I care about the most. And even though it's kind of dumbed down over the last couple of years, it still feels the same to me. So when I look at the fixtures, when the fixture list comes out, I always look and see when this one is coming about. It's just so interesting that it's come about in a time where Arsenal are doing quite well and Man United are not. But then now they have new manager, new things are happening with the club. So there's a lot of different like storylines that are going into this that are interesting. So I feel like if we went out there and played horribly, I wouldn't be shocked. But if we went out there and we played really well, and got a result, I would believe that as well. You just never really know with this Arsenal team. But yeah, I'm feeling okay, a little bit nervous, a little bit like, oh, I can't wait for it to be over so that whatever happens, because we all know that if Man United wins, this one and KJ are going to be unbearable. And I'm not looking forward to it.
I'll be honest with you. I am so up for this game.
I know. I can tell by your whole demeanor that you're
This
up for it.
this game for me is the biggest game of the season so far. I know he's not officially in charge, but Ralph's there. He's been pictured today at Old Trafford. He is involved. He is putting input in. He has spoke to these players. I want this bounce. I want this uplift. I want to see an instant improvement. This squad, I've seen a lot of people in the last couple of, I saw a clip that went out from TalkSport from a Man United fan who called in talking about, basically, I'm paraphrasing and boiling it all down to, this squad has holes in it everywhere. It isn't very good. Anybody that expected this team to challenge, irrespective of the manager, is deluding themselves. This club is in a mess. I disagree with the squad element. I think this squad is very, very good indeed, which is the reason why our rivals were putting pressure on us to actually challenge our team to win things at the beginning of the season. And I'm intrigued to see the bounce, how they play, how they move, how they operate. At the same time, this is huge from an Arsenal point of view. And we said in the title, our Arsenal top four quality. You can see here in the titling on the podcast today, will Arteta be exposed or elevated? And that's another interesting factor in this game for me. A lot of Gooners believe a corner's been turned. A lot of Gooners think and feel that you're going to make the top four. But every time you've had a big game against a big team this season, you've failed. And barring Tottenham. But every time you failed, there's been a reason. COVID, injuries, too early in the season. We weren't expected to beat Liverpool. I want to see whether that continues if Man United beat you tomorrow. And if they beat you convincingly more so. Not a brilliantly even game that United win 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, and it's very close. I think that's a very different feeling. But that may factor into the other element. Maybe that elevates Mikel Arteta to more Arsenal fans. Maybe, though, it exposes actually he hasn't really turned the corner at all. So there's so many nuances and side stories to this Arsenal-Man United game tomorrow night that I'm very, very intrigued about indeed. And I'm just going into it feeling not so much confident because of our form of late, but just there is light at the end of the tunnel for Manchester United. And I just hope the players feel as buoyant and as happy and as excited as I do. And if they are, then there's an amazing, amazing opportunity for Manchester United to pick up 3 points, close the gap on that top four, put a dent into a rival like Arsenal on multiple levels. Throw a grenade amongst the fan base, dent their top four hopes, damage morale in that dressing room, which could impact further results in the season. So it's a huge day. I don't even think I'm overplaying it. It's the biggest game of the season so far for Man United and for Arsenal for so many reasons. So yeah, of course I'm excited about it. I'm intrigued about what's going to happen, and I'm confident my team. And we'll get on to score predictions and combined 11s later in the podcast. But I'm very confident Man United can pick up all 3 points tomorrow night at Old Trafford.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a little bit of recency bias here. If you go back and look at Arteta's record against the bigger sides since he's been here, beyond this season, he hasn't gotten smashed. He hasn't gotten smashed. The issue has not been about picking up points against the big teams. That's more rival talk where they're like, okay, well, where do you stand in regards to us? For us, it's more about beating the small teams and picking up points along the way that we should be getting. So for me, it's more about rivals wanting us to pin ourselves up against Liverpool and City and see where we are. We're nowhere near those two teams, so I don't really expect us to get points against them. Now, when it comes to Manchester United, it's a rivalry, and I would expect us to go in wanting to get all 3 points, even with it's basically just Man United with a bounce. Like, let's be real. Even though Rangnick may have went out there and maybe had some words about the squad, and I expect a bounce, but not like this big tactical shift. Those things don't happen overnight. It takes some time. So for me, I get where the sentiment is coming from. It's like, you guys need to get points against the bigger teams, but we actually don't. We actually don't need to. It's a rivalry thing. We should be getting those points based on trying to see where we kind of land in terms of our rivals, but we could lose all the big games and still come in the top four, really. So I get where you're coming from in terms of like, it's a big game to see whether or not Arteta will be exposed. But in the last couple of seasons, if you go back and look at his results against the big teams, it's not bad. It was our results against the smaller teams. So it's kind of swap, but yeah, that's kind of where I sit with it. And I think it's a bigger game for you guys than it is for us. Let's be real. You guys are supposed to be in the top four.
I'm
No,
playing
no,
it.
no.
You're playing it down, Jess.
No, I'm not.
No, it's not a big
You're
game
not.
for us. You're playing it down.
No,
You're
I said
playing
it's
it
a
down.
bigger game for you guys than it is for us. Like, it's still.
I think it's massive for both our sides. I kind of. Come on, Jay. Like 100%.
You haven't let me finish though. Like, you haven't let me finish. I think because
I'll let you finish,
no,
but
no,
I'm just
no,
interjecting there to say I think you're playing it down.
not really. It's bigger for you guys. Do you not agree with that? Why don't you agree with that?
Why is it bigger for us than it is for you?
Because you guys need to catch up. Like, you guys need to catch
It is,
up.
but and at the same time, you've just sort of sat there and said, like, you're not too worried about this bounce. It's still the same Manchester United. Therefore, we shouldn't be reading too much into the game. And it's a case of, it don't have a free hit, but it's no one's, from your point of view, you're not expecting too much from Man United because we're not that great a team.
I didn't say you guys weren't a great team. You're putting words in my mouth. What I said is, I don't
but what
expect
you're
a tactical
implying,
shift. I don't expect a big
okay,
tactical
but
shift.
so
All I'm
then,
saying is,
so then you're not expecting us to win. And if you're not expecting us to win or to be that good,
you've literally just
what?
put.
So
I did
okay,
not
so let's
say.
go back to what you said. Then when you say like it's the same Man United with the same tactics, that sounds like you're saying you're not that scared of them and worried about them.
What I'm saying is that I think you're overplaying it in terms of Ragnick is here and things have. You're still pretty much. You're not really there quite yet. I don't think you guys are going to see this gig and press and you guys are going to come out
No,
there
didn't
and
say
just
that.
smash us. What I'm
Didn't say
saying is
that.
that I think it's going to, but that's because you didn't finish, because you got upset that I said that I don't think it's as big of a game for us as it is
No,
for you guys.
that's not
You
what
have to
that's
turn
not.
the tide
I haven't
because
disagreed that.
let me just
No, I
land.
haven't disagreed that you. I
Yes,
want
you
to know because
have. You
I
guys
want
in the
you.
chat, is he
I don't.
disagreeing
I
and cutting
don't
me
want you
off before
going.
I
Just stop a
actually
second. I
finish?
don't want you going off on another tangent. I want to ask
I'm
you.
not.
I agree with you that it's bigger for Man United than Arsenal because it's at Old Trafford.
That's not
I
the only
think you're
reason.
playing down the importance of this game for you. This is a very important game for Arsenal Football Club, your trajectory, your development of the team. Results and performances against your fellow top 6 sides is part of your progression towards going back to being not just top 4 contenders, but title challenges. It's key to see the evolution in those games. It's massively key.
The evolution for us is beating the small teams. That's you guys are like as an Arsenal fan, if you're honest with yourself, we did well against the bigger teams last season, but failed against the smaller teams. Go back and look at our record.
I understand that last season you did that, but as you progress and go back to getting back to where Arsenal are meant to be with the money you spend, which is title contenders, results against your
Oh,
contemporaries
see, you've
is
moved the
key.
goalposts. You guys need to be you guys need to be title contenders because
No,
of
I
what you
haven't moved the
spent.
goalposts.
It's we are nowhere
Hang on,
near.
you
We're
literally
nowhere
just changed.
near.
You just changed what I've said again
Oh
into
my gosh, come
into
on.
on your trajectory, getting back towards that. I think it's a key acid test that otherwise. What the way I can't what I've heard from Arsenal fans in the last few weeks is kind of like these games against big teams don't matter. That feels to me like a deflection tactic in case you lose to say, well, I already said it weren't important. So it doesn't matter that
Oh,
Liverpool
but
put
see,
four
I didn't
past
say it
us.
wasn't important. I said it was more important for you guys. I do believe that, but it's important because of our rivalry. That's the main reason why it's important.
So you don't believe it's important for your challenging for top 4 to show the progression of your team, the competitiveness of your team in
No,
all these
because we can
performances against
still
top
make the
6 sides?
top 4. We can lose to you guys tomorrow and still make the top 4. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how you accumulate points. It's not about that's I'm telling you, we beat you guys last season. We still were nowhere near. And that was more because we
I
couldn't beat the
understand you beat
small
us
teams.
last year.
So
I'm just looking at Arsenal this season, and I think they need a statement performance against a team that's. And
you need
listen,
it for you. You need
I know
that,
we.
but see,
I
that's the
know
thing
we.
is you need
Hang
it
on.
for
What? Just
you.
stop a minute. Of course, I know we need it, and this isn't the point. I've
You
already
need
said.
it.
I know. Of course, we need it, and I wouldn't deny that we need a performance tomorrow night. We need a good game tomorrow night. We need the 3 points tomorrow night in terms of that top 4 race. There's no denying it. I'm not stating for a single second that Manchester United, that doesn't count for Man United. I'm pointing out to you, and I've heard this from a lot of Gooners, in the last few days, it's almost, let's paint a scenario whereby we've got a get out of jail free card, a hall pass essentially on this game where we've said it doesn't matter. We can still make top 4 without winning.
We
It doesn't.
can.
Yeah, but it's like you don't care if you lose or not. That's how it
No,
sounds to me
I
listening.
said as a
And
rival, I don't want to lose to you guys, but then
no, I disagree.
I'm also not going to paint a picture where our season has fallen apart because we don't beat you guys tomorrow. And it's still more you guys are at home. You guys need to catch up. If you guys don't get points against us, how far behind will you be? Even if we lose to you guys, we'll still be above you guys. Like that's what I'm saying. It's really more about you guys showing that you guys are turning a corner. Because before the season even started, everybody thought that we were going to be mid-table. But now that we're in
Yeah.
and amongst a bunch of teams that are kind of in and around the top 4, it's like, okay, Arsenal, now you guys need to show that you guys can take points off of this team and this team. Not really. We just need to
Yeah,
keep doing what
I
we're
think
doing. But
I
you
think
guys
from
were title
yeah.
challengers at the beginning of the
No,
season.
agreed,
So it's
agreed.
actually
So
you
let's
guys
so
need to
let's
turn it around, not
but of
us.
course. So let's just go back to it again. I'm not denying a single thing that you've said about Man United. We should have been title contenders this season. Any Man United fan that denies that, for me, is lying to themselves. We've had an abysmal campaign, hence the sacking of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the change of direction in terms of management and coaching. So you're completely right. Only a fool would deny that. My point of view is this. By the way, predicted you to finish inside the top 6. That's where you currently sit right now. You're 5th. So you're in and around where I believed you would be as a football club. So you're not outside of that. I'm talking about the talk I hear from Gooners about the corner being turned, the trajectory that you're on. You know, I've seen Arsenal fans in the last few days talking about how the blueprint's there to play football like Pep Guardiola. You're on your way to that when the squad improves. I think another big acid test is how you then compete and how competitive you are against other big teams that you look at as rivals, teams that you look at as maybe slightly ahead of you in the spectrum of things. Now, most Arsenal fans this season have said that Man United are behind them. Actually, better squad on paper within the names, but as in terms of balance and the style of football management, you're ahead of us. So if you're ahead of us, better balance, trajectory is better, and finishing ahead of us in the league, of course it matters when you then come and play us at Old Trafford, whether
See,
you're able to play for. But
this
I think it's
this
really
is
key,
where we go back
and
to
I feel
a
like
couple of a couple.
one second, let me just finish. So I just sort of feel like when it comes to Arsenal, there's this element of wanting to play down these big games as a bit of an insurance policy to say they don't really matter. These games matter hugely. Even if you take it away from the context of the league table, bragging rights, rivalry, these are a huge component of our game. And I think it's a massive game tomorrow night for both clubs.
I've
Everyone's
said
going to have
that
a different.
though.
Everyone's going to have a
I
different. And
said it was.
if it's a massive game, then it must matter if you win or lose. Not. It doesn't
I
really
said
matter.
for rivalry, for fans to be able to go back to each other and say, "We beat you, I beat you." Of course, it's a big deal, and I said that.
Mm.
But in regards to our season, again, we're supposed to be somewhere in the top 6. I've always said that. So I can't speak for other people that feel something differently. I
And
don't
I'm not
feel like
asking you,
we're in it,
I'm
but
not
just
asking you. I'm not asking you to speak for other people. I'm asking your
but that's what you're
opinion on
saying.
these
Like
matters. No,
you're bringing those
no,
opinions, and I'm telling you what I think.
cool.
And then it's like, okay, well, you're not telling the truth. And I'm like, I am telling the
No,
truth. I
I
think
don't
we're
think
somewhere in the top 6. So
the
I'm
only
not.
thing that I don't think you've told the truth on, I think you've played down that it's an important game for your season and part of your trajectory. I think that it is, and that's the only thing we disagree on.
Oh yeah, I don't. I disagree with that because
Yeah, that's the
I
only thing. That's the only thing that I've kind of said in relation to that. I think it's a
it's big for rivalries, but it's not going to derail our
yeah, no,
season.
I think it's massive for rivalry. I think it's big for both our club seasons. It's the chance for Man United to show things as they wish to go on. I think it's massive for Arsenal to lay down a marker to say, look, we really are on the way back. We can go to a big rival's ground and be the better team, which yes, your results against some of the big 6, especially Tottenham and Man United in the last few seasons, and have been pretty good. Your results against the others,
Against Chelsea as well. Look at
well,
those
that
results
was
too.
Chelsea under Lampard, definitely.
We
There's
beat
no,
Chelsea with Tuchel as well.
yeah. When was that? The end of last season.
Yeah. I mean, you have
Yeah.
to count them,
No, you
it's
do,
results, isn't it?
and you did get that as a good result. But you look at this year as an example as well. It hasn't been brilliant. Arsenal fans in the build up to the Liverpool game. Again, I'm only taking this from Gooners. We're saying that they really want to be competitive in this game to show a marker. So I can't understand what's changed in 2 weeks. We will be competitive against Liverpool and it will show everyone we've changed to now games against big 6, top 6 don't matter. That's the only, and you're kind of saying what I've heard a lot of other people saying. I'm really intrigued to what's changed in the Arsenal fan base
Oh,
in the
nothing's
last,
changed with
in the
me.
last.
So
Okay, but my question to you is take it out of you. What do you think's changed in the Arsenal fan base to make them change their tune within 2 weeks? What do you think's made them change their kind of view on these things?
I think they want to see certain things, but we kind of here, like, you can want something really badly. Like, of course, I want to go to Old Trafford and win the game and be super competitive. But there's also the other side of the story where if we don't get that, it's a disappointment and we have to analyze it. But it
Mm,
doesn't derail our season. So then when we come back after the game and we haven't won the game and we got smashed by Liverpool, it was, well, why aren't you freaking out? You said that this was going to be the change that you were going to get. You still know that
yeah,
you look at the table, you're still in 5th. And that's the reality. We did well against the big teams last season, came in 8th. We're doing well against the small teams and getting smashed by the big teams now, and we're somewhere in and around 4th. So when you still can look at the table and be
yeah.
optimistic about where you're going, why are you freaking out
So do
for?
you essentially feel like they just got a little bit gassed, a bit ahead of themselves, and realized they were chatting a bit of smack, and actually let's just slow down and put. For me, it
I
was
mean,
always a case of
maybe the few fans that felt that way. Again,
uh,
the bigger
yeah,
group doesn't really feel that way. Maybe
yeah,
they did get
maybe,
ahead of
maybe,
themselves, but
and sometimes when it comes to this stuff, like the minority can be very, very loud in the footballing world that have a particular
I
opinion.
think
It
that
gets a
that's
lot
an
of
important
traction.
point too. It's
Yeah,
like most Arsenal fans didn't feel like equally, we don't feel like our season is over if we're not super competitive in these matches. We still have to beat the small teams, but it's going to be difficult for us to beat the bigger teams if they're on their game because our team is, for me, not as good as those teams. And like, I'm okay with saying that. It's not that big of a deal. Before the season, we were supposed to be mid-table. Everybody knows that. You look at our team, we're not quite there yet. So I don't put a lot of pressure on it. Of course, I'll be devastated if we don't win or we get smashed. But equally, I'm not going to sit around and cry and hide, because we'll still be somewhere in and around fourth or fifth if we lose to you guys tomorrow.
Interesting. AMT here says it has happened many times when Arsenal has a chance of improving their position in the league. They shoot themselves in the foot. That worries me, is what AMT's got to say. I'll do some more of these comments coming through here. There was another super chat. I don't want to miss this. Jason here says, Terry, you're rattled. Yeah, maybe I'm rattled. I think I'm talking pretty calmly, to be fair. Terry, look at the table. Listen, a lot of people are pointing it out to me as well. Like, Terry, look at the table. You're behind Arsenal, everything else. If that's all true, though, then it does make it frustrating for Gooners not to win. If we're behind Arsenal and not as good as Arsenal and they get beat by us, if you're an Arsenal fan and that doesn't bother you, I am questioning your love of your club. Legitimately.
No, I think you're
If Man
confusing.
United fans lose tomorrow night and they're not bothered, I'm questioning your love of your
Yeah,
club.
but
It's a weird
I
one
think
for me.
you're
Keep saying this.
confusing us, saying where we are in the table. We know that you can be somewhere in the table and not be the better team because somebody else is underperforming. But equally, that's what makes it more important for you guys, because you're underperforming and
Yeah.
you're under an Arsenal team that was supposed to be mid-table and you're supposed to be title challengers. So that's why I'm like, we've answered the assignment.
I
We're
don't
doing We've turned our
disagree with
paper
you.
into the teacher. You guys are still
And I
trying to do
don't
your homework
disagree with
before the
you.
bell rings. Like,
And I
come on, it's
don't
on you
disagree
guys,
with
not
you. And I've
us.
said it 100 times. I don't disagree with you. My point is, I've seen it on socials the last 2 days. People, Arsenal fans, stating, doesn't matter if we win or lose, we're where we're meant to be. I don't believe them. I just think people are putting out an insurance policy to go, do you know what? That's what my response is going to be if we lose, so that I don't show how frustrated I am. Mystique T says, I agree with Terry here. As an Arsenal fan, a positive result for Arsenal is a real statement of intent considering the form we are on. If we lose, it's back to square one for me. There's a comment here that says from one of the members says, I agree with Jess. Doesn't allude to anything more, but says, I agree with Jess. Comment here says, Jess, you're basically accepting a defeat. Jason here says, Terry is rattled. So there's a good mixture of you in the audience to have a real different view and opinion as to what we're both saying. I think my view is simply this is a big game for both. And I think any member of any fan base that's playing down a defeat tomorrow for any reason is lying to themselves. United can make top four if they lose 20 plus. Sorry, if they lose, there's 20 plus games left. Of course, both teams can turn it round. It doesn't end either team's season. But for me, it's important for Man United to lay a marker down to show that this squad to show itself will be a much better quality than it really is. Positive result against Villarreal. Terrible performance, really, but a solid result against Chelsea to sort of cement that the Carrick's kind of the last official game in charge. And to be able to move on from that point, I think it's huge for Manchester United from that point in terms of the season. So yeah, it's an absolutely massive one for me. Eugene here says Terry is rattled. United need the win more than Arsenal. Never said otherwise. I love how people hear what they want to hear.
No, you did. You said it's equally big for both of us. It ain't.
Okay, so let me rephrase that then. So when I say equally as big, I mean it from a point of view. So I'm happy to accept it's bigger for us if people want to say that, but I don't think the gap in size of this game for each club is too different. It isn't like it's massive for us and it's any other day for Arsenal fans. It's still massive. It's a massive game and it always has been, and it always will be. In terms of the team tomorrow. Any surprises you think are going to come up from Arsenal? Any selections that you think will or won't happen?
No, not really. I think we've been pretty solid with the same 11 for the most part. Same back five. Maybe Kieran Tierney comes back in. That might be the only change, but same back five, same midfield. Lacazette, Aubameyang, probably Bukayo Saka and Emile Smith Rowe. That's what I see happening tomorrow's game. Simple, straightforward. I think you guys have more surprises because Ronaldo's going to come back in. So even though that Rashford, Sancho, Bruno thing was interesting against Chelsea, it's going to be Ronaldo. So that'll change things up for you guys, won't it?
Yeah, I have no idea what we're going with, what team we're going to go with, or anything along those lines. Like, I literally have zero idea at all.
I mean, he
Um,
was rested for the Arsenal game, so Ronaldo will play.
yeah, I expect him to be. I think a lot of people read too much into that already. Ronaldo has been a weird scapegoat for some Man United fans in the media this year. He's the reason that Ollie fouled, essentially, because we couldn't press with him. But yet there was no system before he arrived. So I don't understand he can break a system that didn't exist. He'll start to, I'm pretty sure Ronaldo will start tomorrow night, to be fair. When I say I got no idea, I would be very shocked if 2 games running Cristiano Ronaldo didn't start the game. I expect us to go back to more of a 4-2-3-1 formation to be. I don't expect us to be too defensive against Arsenal. With all due respect, you're not at Chelsea's level.
But
You
not
don't
only that,
pose.
you're at home and your fans are not going to allow you to sit back. They're going to want to respond. So you guys will have to come out and play. It's your house, so you guys need to do your thing. I think the fans alone, and you can't sit back against Arsenal. So it's about where we are. Of course, I don't expect you guys to sit back, but that didn't stop Ollie from doing it the last like 2 or 3 times we played you, But I would imagine that the idea will be different. You guys will go out and try to press us and get on us early. The only problem with that is if you guys are not perfect in your press, you'll leave gaps in behind. So that's the only thing. I'd prefer you guys to come out and play us. I'd prefer you guys not sit back in. And I don't think you guys will. I think you guys will come out. You have to.
Yeah. Yeah. You say yeah, we do have to, but I actually think sitting in against, this is what's interesting about people saying we have to. I fucking hate people saying that. It's like, there's a weird, not that I don't know if the players will see this, they probably won't. I've seen a lot of people say this, but United have to attack Arsenal, they're at home. Arsenal want that. It's like one of the things that triggers Jurgen Klopp is when teams don't do what his team need them to. So when you open up against Jurgen Klopp, he sits there rubbing his hands together like, yeah, great. Because invariably he'll win. You sit back and you're resolute. You still more often than not lose, but you've always got a chance of winning. And I feel like, I think Man United should be smart tomorrow night. I'm one of these fans where if we sat back tomorrow night, made it hard for Arsenal, and then you over-attacked and we picked you off, I already know what the criticism would be. It'd be, oh my God, you parked the bus at home. That's embarrassing. No, winning a game is never embarrassing for me. And I sort of feel like it depends on what we do tomorrow. If we're going to try and change something up and do something a little different, then I'm all for it. But the way like you said, there's not really going to be a change in how we play yet. The new system is, you kind of said that, right? Or am I putting words in your mouth?
No, I said that.
You said
Not
that.
a
Cool.
big
I want
tactical
to make
shift.
sure that I heard you right.
But
Yeah.
okay.
So
But I think you thought there would be a little bit of a tactical shift. Did you not?
I think it's more, not so much tactical shift. I think it's more around the players putting in more energy and more effort and just trying that little bit harder.
I said you guys are just gonna have a bounce. Did I not say that? It's Man United with a little bounce.
That ain't my point. That's not the point I'm making. I'm making sure you said what you said because I didn't want you to say I didn't say that. So I'm not trying to catch you out here. I'm making a tool, one little bit. What I'm simply stating is I'm in this kind of position where I think if we're not changing too much what we're doing, why go out and do what we've done against Arsenal the last 6 or 7 times and been beaten in nearly every single game? I would sit back and be more resolute, wait for Arsenal to open up and counter-attack them. Whenever we've been the aggressor against Arsenal in recent years, you've beaten us. So the kind of reverse psychology of, Man United have to come out and be the aggressor. Fuck that. Not with the way we play, not with the system that we've been using, and not with what these players are used to. I think if we come out and be too gun-ho, we're playing right into Arsenal's hands.
Yeah, I think you guys will come out and try to do something. I just have this weird feeling that it's going to be like, I want to show the new manager, let's go out and press them. Probably going to look at the Liverpool game and say, when they got pressed, they made a mistake. But Liverpool's press is 5, 6, 7 years in the making, perfect. They know they don't leave gaps. Hopefully you guys leave gaps.
But you're right. See, you're saying we will do it, and I've got a gut feeling we may. People are saying here, Terry, raise your standards. I want to park the bus. See, again, you're misinterpreting it. It's not what I want. It's what I think is most sensible. I think Jess is right here, and I think a lot of the audience are missing my compliment here. that's why I was trying to allude to it, but everybody gets in their feelings. What I'm trying to say is, if we do what Jess is saying we will do, we are going to get beat. We need to do the opposite. But Jess is right. We probably will go out, be a little bit gun-ho. And if we don't get that first goal, and that's what it's going to come down to in this game, is that if we score early or we get that first goal, I'm 100% convinced from that point we beat Arsenal. Arsenal coming from a goal down at Old Trafford, I don't personally see it happening. It's if we get caught. And there's opening 20 minutes of both halves, Arsenal are generally so good. That's when Arsenal are at their absolute peak as the team. So that's when I'm concerned for this game and putting sort of like credit where credit is due to Arsenal. That is where they're going to be for me at their most dangerous. In terms of stopping Man United, what do you think you need to do? Who are the players you need to nullify to get a result?
Bruno, I expect us to kick the crap out of him. That's the game plan. If you just kick him, that'll be it. He's still your main creative source. You know, everything goes through him. Very smart, over the top balls. It's blindly kicked into the channel for Rashford, you know, and that's the most dangerous I think that you guys are, is when a team stupidly plays a high line, leaves Bruno open, and he does those blind passes into space for Rashford. He's the player that I would be most afraid of. And I know it's like, well, Ronaldo, he's inevitable and all that kind of stuff. I think by far the scariest thing about Manchester United is Bruno to Rashford. So for me, it's not playing a silly high line, making sure we smash Bruno, kick his ankles, because, you know, if the game is difficult, sometimes he tends to fade or not really have any effect on the game. And that would be the main thing, you know, for me. And then try to force the ball to Fred and McTominay if they play, because they're not as good on the ball and I prefer them passing than Bruno, you know. So that's what I would expect to happen. You know, it's going to be more difficult than that because we know Ronaldo will be out there, and Gabriel and Ben White have to be really smart. You know, Tomiyasu, he needs to be more conservative than he's ever been. You know, he can't go forward like at all, you know. So it'll be interesting, but, you know, stopping Manchester United is going to be difficult, but we have a really good, solid defense. You guys have a good attack. We have a less potent attack, and you guys have a really suspect defense. So it could end up just canceling each other out, you know, to be honest. And then it'll be one in the midfield. And to be honest, you know, if I had to put our midfield up against yours, I wouldn't be too afraid, because I think Sambi and Thomas, even though they haven't been amazing, I think they're better on the ball than Fred and McTominay, you know. So we'll see, you know, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think it could cancel each other out.
Thomas
Partey.
Oh, Thomas. He's so overrated, isn't he?
With one leg, he's still better than Fred. I'm
He's
sorry.
Not. He
Yeah,
honestly,
he
he is one of the worst and most overrated midfielders in the Premier League. He's atrocious.
Oh, that's so sad that you think that. And you have Fred in your midfield.
But I didn't say Fred was good. I'm just saying Thomas Partey, how good he was in. I was watching a lot of Arsenal's footage in the last few days in the lead up to this, sort of reviewing the players, looking at them with the eye test, looking at them statistically. He just flatters to deceive, Thomas Partey. Statistically, he's worse than McTominay.
So what did you forget, though? What did you forget when you looked at the last couple of days? What did I forget? So this is the thing about rivals and why sometimes it's difficult to listen to analysis on our team, because the main issue with Thomas Partey, and if you want to say he's overrated, it's mostly not because of what he does on the pitch. It's about him not being available because he's been injured. That's the main thing. And when he comes back from injury, it takes him a while to get back into it. So for me, it's kind of like to say that he's overrated in terms of his skill set and things like that. I think that's quite similar to saying like somebody like Saul that hasn't really kicked off at Chelsea is overrated. We know these players are not bad. We know that they're good.
Yeah, I think, you know, for me, when I say overrated, though, so again, availability is the best ability, and it's something that's if he's got a weak body and he breaks down a lot, that's an attribute. I think for me, when I say overrated, I think too many Arsenal fans are like banking on him coming good. I don't think he's going to at Arsenal, partly because his body's made of biscuits and he breaks down quite a bit. And equally, I think the Premier League is too fast for him. I think that the pace of the league over here is too quick. Whether it's his pass completion, whether it's his, you know, breaking up a play, he isn't on par with other players in his position in the Premier League, whether it's statistical on the eye. And I feel like, thank God for Arsenal, you didn't pay his full market value and you got him for a really good price via the buyout clause, because he was so good in La Liga. He was world class in La Liga, and we've seen it before with in the Premier League. Players come here. One of the standout examples, and this is from years ago, but it's a great example, is Varane that joined Man United, one of the best midfield players in the world. I remember the world and its dog was saying, wow, like he's joining like Roy Keane and Paul Scholes. What is this midfield going to be able to do? And he was never able to do it. He was never able to deliver. He was never able to like impose himself. Interestingly, when he played in Europe for Man United, he looked excellent. He looked really, really good in Champions League games. He just didn't in the Prem. And I just get that feeling with Thomas Partey. And maybe that's why the injuries are creeping in as well, the extra speed, the extra pace. But yeah, for me, I don't worry about going up against Thomas Partey at all tomorrow night. I even with our midfield, I think he can be bypassed. I think he can be outworked. I think he can be outmuscled.
I disagree, but that's fine. You know, I think it's easy to look from the outside and just say, oh, he's overrated because of blank. We know he's not playing with the same level of players. A lot of inconsistency in the team. A lot of things that, had you been talking about your own player, you probably would have been like, well, he has this is happening. You know, he needs this, he needs that. So for me, Thomas Partey is still, he's coming back off of injuries, and yeah, that's his main thing, and it is a weakness. But in preseason, Ruben Loftus-Cheek fouled him horribly. That's not, I'm weak, that's somebody hurt you. Then in practice, somebody hurt him in practice. So there's a difference between running.
Sorry.
There's a difference between running and pulling a muscle, because you keep
I
re-aggravating something.
understand that. I do think with Arsenal fans, though, you always have excuses for everything. There's never just, yeah, you're right. He just isn't hitting the standards. We lost games because we had players. There's never just we weren't good enough or he isn't good enough. Why is that?
What are you saying? I came on here the other day and said Aubameyang was crap. What are you saying? Thomas Partey is completely different than Aubameyang to me.
See, but it's interesting, like, again, but you say like Tom, I get your point there. For me, it's like Aubameyang for me isn't crap. I think he is also, I think he's been slightly damaged by the way your team plays football. You barely create opportunities and chances. He's a goal poacher, essentially. You've got to create. I know he's missed at the weekend, was atrocious. I kind of feel like if you're going to protect Thomas Partey by saying his levels are lower because he's playing with lesser quality, surely you've got to apply that to Aubameyang and to other players in your team, right? If they're playing with less quality, they're playing with less quality. I just sort of feel like
every single situation is different. Like it's like, I don't blanket anything, but like the whole point is Arsenal fans always have an excuse for every single player that they have, and they're never just not good enough, when most people would sit down and tell you that Granit Xhaka is not good enough. So-and-so is not good enough. Like that's to me, that's fundamentally not true, that we sit around and make excuses for everybody. Thomas Partey is somebody that has enough excuses at the very, like, to say he's just overrated, I feel like for me is just like, I can't really take that.
I talk about it as overrated because people talk about him in nearly every combined 11 team I see Arsenal fans do. Against any team, they put him in there. He's like maybe one of the go-to guys. And I just think there's nothing about him that I've seen yet in the Prem on a consistent basis that tells me he's one of the best midfielders in the league. You're right. Your point about Saul Niguez is bang on. Saul Niguez for me is a player I've loved for years. But if I'm rating him on his Premier League experience so far, he's been shocking. As a Premier League midfielder, Scott McTominay is better than him. Like, and that ain't saying that's a diss. That isn't a compliment to Scott McTominay. That's
so when
like
we do our combined 11, I just want to be clear that we're going on form and what they've done this season, and not what you think about your players, right? I just want to make sure that
it's a combination of the two, but it's got to be based on what they've done in the Premier League. It can't be based on
perfect. I just want to make sure, because when we get to that defense, you're not getting anybody in there. There you go.
I'm cool. I'm cool with that.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
Again,
no, you're not.
Again, you're telling me I know what I am. I'm cool, calm, collected here. I am good.
You guys, is Terry cool, calm, and collected, or is he knew that Thomas Partey is come on. I love Thomas Partey.
Ladies and gentlemen, smash that like button for us, please. We're doing the combined 11 a little bit later on in the show. Brandon here with the super chat says, United would be far better off sitting back and hitting us on the counter because we struggle to break teams down. This could be a spanking if we get it wrong. I hear you, Brandon. I completely agree with you. Again, I'm not worried about the reverse psychology of saying, "Oh, you've got to go out there and attack Terry. It's embarrassing if you don't." Not really. CR7 will kill us on the counter attack, is what Brandon's got to say here. We had another super chat that came through. We're going to find there's so many comments today, which is amazing. Keep the comments coming, people. We've got the quick fire round coming up soon. We'll be able to throw your questions into us as well. Who is a bigger flop, Pepe or Partey? For me, both are crap. I would say
is a bigger flop than them.
Fred's a bigger flop than Pepe.
He's at least a bigger flop than he's
that isn't the question, is
a
it?
bigger
That's
flop.
not the question. Answer this question.
Because why are we? I'm not okay. Well, Pepe is obviously, but why don't we ever do one for Manchester United? You guys spend tons of money on players, and they don't end up being anything.
Whoa! I didn't super chat. That's not my question. That's not my point.
Okay,
don't
Pepe.
ever cut me. It's not my
Pepe.
fault. Cool.
Okay, Pepe.
There's another chat that came through here from Man Like Ads. When I can get to it, it says, Terry, what are you saying? Aubameyang missed against Watford, Brighton, Liverpool, Newcastle. If he had taken 50% of those chances, we would have had, we'd be having 7 or 8 goals this season. Well, 50% of those chances, look, Lionel Messi is one of the greatest goal scorers ever. So is Ronaldo. I think their conversion rate is about 16 to 17% over a 10-year average. So players miss chances. The problem that Arsenal have is they don't create enough chances in games. When you're a striker, and your team's only creating 1 or 2 clear, one big chance a game and 2 or 3 half chances, you start to snatch. And I think his confidence is massively damaged. I do agree with other elements of the argument that he's on a bit of a holiday now. He's being paid too much money. He's kind of it's another kind of Ozil mistake from Arsenal. I'm not kind of getting away from that. But I do think the lack of quality in the attack from Arsenal. Only twice this season have I really seen Arsenal's attack look very intense and very potent. And that was the Villa game and the Spurs game where you were just brilliant. If that was around for 60, 70, 80% more of your games, I think Aubameyang would score more and deliver more in my view, my friend. AMT says, McFred worse than Pepe and Partey. Listen, I wouldn't even overtly disagree with that personally. Like I wouldn't. Like again, I'm not in my feelings. If I know a player's bad, I'll say he's bad. Have you heard of Simon Jordan from TalkSport? He's the only person in football media who gives an owner boardroom perspective to events. I don't know what you mean, unless I'm misreading that. Who gives an owner a boardroom perspective to events? I don't know what you mean, my brother. I don't understand your super chat. Try and explain that again to us so I get it. I'm sorry, my friend. A bit harsh to say Pepe is a flop. His goal to assist record is good. He's just inconsistent.
No, Brandon, just say he's a flop. Just so the argument will be over since we have all the flops and Manchester United don't have a single flop on their team.
Up next, so we're gonna do. I want to do a game for. We're gonna do combined 11 soon, people. Keep hitting that like and share button. But Jess, you need to pick now a midfielder. These are the midfielders we've got to pick from. So this is showing their statistical output in the Premier League. We're having a little look at it here. As you can see, when you look at the statistical output, you've got ball recoveries, possession lost, chances created. There is passing accuracy, crossing accuracy, tackles made, aerial duel success, ground duel success, clearances, interceptions, and blocks. Which one, A, B, or C? Viewers join in as well. A, B, or C? Who would you pick? Who would be your midfielder? Who would be the person that you go out there and buy? A, B, or C? What are you saying, Jess?
B.
You'd pick B. Why B?
I don't know.
Come on. That's the reason. A few people agree with you here. We're getting B. Well, a few people saying B. If you're saying A. A lot of people saying stat merchant. There's a reason for this. Just let it come around.
You put it up too quickly. It's probably all Manchester United midfilders. So,
but you're going with B. You're going with B.
I'll just go with B.
But yeah. What's your rationale though? What's your rationale with B?
I don't know. The blocks look okay. Ground duel success is not bad. Tackles made looks like a CDM to me ish maybe. I don't know. Crossing accuracy. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell from just this. But I think I'll go with B.
You're going to go with B. Again, obviously, I'm not
Yeah.
going to pick because I know who they all are because I made them up earlier. I'm just looking at the viewers here. There's still quite a mixture. I'm seeing a lot of Bs and a lot of Cs in this so far. So
they're Fred, McTominay, and Bruno in some way.
So I'm going to reveal it later on in the show. We're going to go through that. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing the combined 11. Man United versus Arsenal combined 11. Let's do this. So who starts in goal? David De Gea or Ramsdale?
Ramsdale, next.
I agree completely. So that's one in there straight away. No challenge from me. Who is the left back going to be? Tavares or Luke Shaw?
Tavares, next.
Tavares. Cool. Who is going to be the centre back pairing? We've got to pick a pair here.
Gabriel and Ben White, next.
Gabriel, Ben White. We're going to go with Tomiyasu as well.
Yep.
So it's back five, all Arsenal. Yep. Cool. What formation are we going to play?
A 4-2-3-1.
4-2-3-1. So you would put Ben White and Ben White and Gabriella over Varane 100%.
Yeah, because we're talking about what they've done in the Premier League.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that.
Varane hasn't played in the Premier League.
So he hasn't done enough in the Prem for you.
No. Varane?
I'm asking a question.
Varane?
You say no, he hasn't. Like nothing to trick question.
I did. We finished the back line and then you came back on it and started talking about somebody who ain't played in the Premier League. Really.
And I'm asking questions. The viewers are still putting in their suggestions. It's for them. It's slowing the pace of the show down.
There are no suggestions. It's the Arsenal back five.
The Arsenal back five. What formation are we playing?
A 4-2-3-1.
So who is going to be in the double pivot for you? Who are your picks for the double pivot?
Well, the options are Fred, McTominay, Thomas Partey, and Sambi Lokonga. I'm going to go Sambi and Fred. So I'm going to go with
Sambi and Fred. So you're not picking Thomas Partey?
No, because he's made of biscuits.
No, but you just sat here and defended him, and now you're not even putting him in the team.
No, I really don't want to fight about it. Like, I really don't. Like, no. And Sambi has been better than him this season, you know. So I think Sambi has been pretty good this season. So, and Fred's not as bad as I'm making him out to seem. So Fred was okay against Chelsea, wasn't he? So he just couldn't chip the keeper.
Okay. So you reckon Fred there. No McTominay anywhere near your team?
No. Okay.
Like Matic for me, I think Matic for me is the better midfielder, is the best midfielder across both clubs. The problem is physically, he's finished. Like physically, he can't do it. So I'm quite happy that I like Sambi. I think he's a very good player. I'm happy to get Fred in there as well. So I'm happy to go with that. Viewers, what do you think? Comment here says, wow, the back five Arsenal, that's tire level delusion, is what's being said there. Like, I think it's really hard to defend Man United's back line with how they performed. I think we've conceded like 28, 29 goals or something mad. I might be exaggerating that slightly, but the level of goals conceded is huge. So yeah, no doubt about it at all. It's got to be the Arsenal back line. Like they're title winning defense in the making. Brilliant defensively in the majority of games. Arsenal fans love this backline. They barely concede goals. So 110%, I think you can't fit a Man United player in there this year. I'm being legit with that. So there's no doubt. Midfield, any other suggestions from midfield people? Let's have a look what people are saying here. Sambi and McTominay is what Sean's got to say. Scott and Partey is what Trix has got on his mind. I think he's I see Donny van der Beek. I don't think he's played enough to warrant it. I don't think he's played enough. Again, technically, as a footballer, he's better than every single midfield player Arsenal have got. The same as Paul Pogba is better than every Arsenal midfield player they've got. Actually, do you know what I'm going to say, though? I know he's injured, but I'm throwing Paul Pogba in there instead of Sambi. Paul Pogba's got 7 assists this season. World-class midfielder. He walks into it. Everyone being fit, he walks into it. Oh, are we going to only available players? What do you reckon? If they're fit?
No, yeah, you can put Pogba in there. That's cool. Yeah.
Cool. Who's in the number 10 role then? Emil Smith-Rowe or Bruno Fernandes?
Yeah, I guess Bruno Fernandes. I mean, he's been playing in the Premier League longer. He's more experienced, and he's probably better at this point in his career. So Bruno, yeah.
No case
No,
for Smith Rowe with his season?
no. So I mean, Smith Rowe is great. I love Smith Rowe. I love my like. If I was just doing the starting 11, like I would probably pick Emil Smith Rowe over Bruno Fernandes because I love him. But Bruno Fernandes is a great midfielder, and, so you can't really deny that. He probably has better statistics than Emil. He's older, more experienced, so you gotta put Bruno in there, but I love him. I love Emil,
Or
so
do you feel
yeah.
maybe Emil Smith Rowe is more suited to the left-hand side? Would you put him on the left, maybe more so than the middle?
No, because you're gonna put Rashford there, aren't you? Like, I mean, our this is where our players just don't really your play like, you should have the whole front line. There should be no real
But that ain't
question.
based on that. It's about you making an argument maybe for why when you're unless
But
you believe they shouldn't.
no, I mean, they're younger and less experienced, and so it is what it is. Like, your attack is good. So, I mean, maybe there's an argument on the right-hand side for Saka over Sancho because he hasn't been great and he just started to show, but you could easily go back and say, well, he was so great in the Bundesliga. So, so I don't know, but I think Emil Smith Rowe doesn't really make it over Bruno. And then Rashford is really, really good. So I don't know if he makes it on the left-hand side. I think Saka has a chance to make it in there though.
Okay. So Bruno in the 10.
Yeah.
Who are we putting on the right? Saka or Sancho? Who's the better of the two, do you think?
I think this season, Bukayo Saka has been better than him. But if you go with recency bias, you probably would say Sancho. But what does he have? One goal in the season so far.
Two.
He hasn't really played two. Okay, well, in the Premier League
Yeah, just one. Yeah.
is one. Saka has two, I think. So it's marginal. But Saka's played more. He's been more influential in our team. So if I had to make a case for anybody, it'd be Bukayo.
Viewers, what do you think on the right-hand side? Saka or Sancho, or maybe Greenwood? I mean, throw these suggestions into us, ladies and gentlemen. Want to know what you're thinking? Want to know what you're feeling this afternoon in relation to this? Let's see what people are saying here. Emil Smith Rowe is more of a dribbler than a chance creator. Bruno takes the 10 position, is what Dennis has got to say here. A lot of people, Starboy, Saka. Saka is a flop, is what Tony's got to say. Trix has picked Saka. Most of the viewers here are picking Saka as it stands right now. There we go. Let's have a look at a few more people here. Saka. Yeah, Saka's winning here in terms of the comment section coming through, no doubt. So Saka there on the right-hand side as it stands. On the left, who would your case be for on the left?
I think it just has to be Rashford, isn't it? Like, he has tons of goals. He's been around for a long time, and he's probably your most dangerous player at the moment in my mind. So I would say Rashford, even though, like I said, I love Emil, but it's probably Rashford, isn't it? No?
Oh, Rashford's a better football player than Emil Smith Rowe. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah.
Or do you disagree?
No, no. I think at the moment, he's probably better than Emil, even though Emil's great. You know, that's why I mean the defense, you can't argue that at all. But the attacking players, like that's the strength of your team is your attack. And like I'm not gonna sit here and say that Emil Smith Rowe is better than Rashford just to fight about it when I don't believe it. So but that doesn't mean I don't think
No,
Emil is
no.
great.
I know, of course. I don't think it's a bit like the defensive line. I think Man United got some very good players in their defensive line. They've just been awful they've been so bad this season. I can't sit here and make a case for them. I want to, in my heart, I
Yeah.
want to, but they don't deserve being defended, right? They've got to put in a few good performances and keep some more clean sheets before I start chatting about those guys as
Yeah.
even being defenders again. And I think Smith Rowe's had an excellent start to his season this year. A lot of pressure wearing Bergkamp's shirt. As far as I'm concerned, it's Bergkamp's shirt, and he's wearing it. And he's delivered. He has delivered. He's stepped up and he's delivered, and he's doing. I think he's doing very well. But there's a long way for him to go. Even though with Rashford's an interesting case for me because I'm really intrigued to see what the next 18 months are going to look like for him, with hopefully good, modern, progressive coaches kind of looking after him. He just hasn't had that. He's had past his best Jose, doesn't care about youth, and then Ollie. So to have like a top level coach look after him, and that's one of the things I'd say about Saka and Smith Rowe. And I mean, Lee spoke about it last night. I do worry about their development under Arteta in terms of does he what we don't, like we spoke before about how whether or not Arteta has the ability to get to that elite level. The problem in terms of waiting for him to get there is you've got that development of young players, and that kind of 20 to 20, that sort of 18 to 22, 23 gap is so important for people's development. And it's whether or not they're getting the very best development in that time against sort of, look at the way some of the players look that are in sort of coming through at City and coming through at Liverpool, playing with better quality, better management, better coaching. Are they in the longer term going to end up being better players because of it? And I think that's one of the things that I'm concerned about with my youngsters at Man United. And from an England standpoint, I look at the young English players at Arsenal, and I do have that concern and worry as well, because we don't know how good Arteta is going to be, and therefore what that's going to do to the players.
Yeah. I mean, you could make a case that the reason why they're in the England side is because of what Arteta's done with them in the short term. I know people don't want to hear that because Arteta is crap and he's a bum and he's this and that, but he's a good coach. Like, that's what he's known for, is being a good coach on the training ground. And so just as much as we want to tear him down for the things that he is not doing right, you can't sit there and say that, well, the progression that ESR and Saka have made in the short period of time is not due to him at all. So I don't really worry about him with the young players' development. I'm more worried about the in-game management stuff of, when you go up against really good managers, can he do that part? But on the training ground, I'm not really that worried about it, because you have to give him some credit for the young players and what they're doing so far. So that's kind of where I sit with it.
Josh here says Greenwood this season and last season has outperformed Saka. I think statistically that's definitely true. As a goal scorer, there's no doubt about it at all. And look, I wouldn't swap Greenwood for Saka, but everyone knows how much I rate Saka. I think he's a tremendous player. I think the overall game of Greenwood needs to improve. His goal scoring has been immense. His decision making, though, is something that needs to improve. And again, that's a bit like the point I was making about these youngsters and their development. Someone like Ralf Rangnick, and not even the new coaches that are going to take over from Ralf in 6 months' time, they're just going to be able to get more out of these players. They know what they're looking at. They know what they're doing. I don't think they'll allow sort of stagnancy of these supremely talented young players to go forward. In terms of starting in the striker role, then, if you're going with Rashford, who would you put in that striker role?
I think you have to put Ronaldo there. I mean, I can't really. This is the thing. Like, when you do the combined 11, I could sit here and try to make arguments for Aubameyang that don't hold up. So I'd rather not. Aubameyang only has 4 goals this season. He hasn't been great, and Ronaldo is a superior player to him. And it would look silly for me to sit there and be like, oh, Aubameyang deserves to get in there over Ronaldo. So yeah, I think Ronaldo should get it. And if it's not Ronaldo, then there's nobody really on Arsenal in the striker position that's really doing it at the moment. So I think is kind of an easy one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, easy. Yeah, I mean, look, Ronaldo is who Ronaldo is, I think, and he's been someone that's been so maligned by certain United fans this season, where I'm bereft. They don't think that Ralph's going to be able to create a system that's going to get the best out of him. It's like, yeah, research Ralph and you'll see that it's doable. Again, he's someone else I'm intrigued to see in the next few months. How many more chances can we create in games now? If we're creating an extra 1 big chance per game, Ronaldo's got such a great conversion rate of them. That could be an extra 10, 12, 13 goals this season for him. What does that accumulate into points for Man United? It could be huge. He's done it. They've done it in the Premier League. They've done it in the Champions League on a regular basis. It's actually shocking that how bad Man United have been in that tournament, that he has 6 goals in 5 games. It's ridiculous. His levels there are amazing, although we're talking more Prem here. But yeah, I'd go over Ronaldo on that. And that's what's interesting about the combined 11, though, because I agree with it pretty much. And that's why it's weird, because obviously your point about United are going to attack, and we should attack because our attack is superior to yours. But then your defense is so good, it's been hard to break down. Sometimes the best form of attack is to defend. You know, as someone that grew up, it's sort of in and around the fighting mats and rings and fighting, sometimes going hell for leather and being the aggressor and opening up your jaw could be dangerous if you were against a very good counter puncher. And I do think that's something that that Arsenal have got in abundance. They haven't been able to do it against the Chelsea, Cities, and Liverpools this year. Those teams have just been too good at regaining possession when they lose it. But you're right. I don't know if Man United are there and ready yet. I'd be very nervous if we went out gun-ho and tried to blast you away. I said it earlier on in the show. It would scare me very, very much.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, are you really like worried about us at all though? Like be real for like 5 seconds. Like I feel like you guys are quite confident, aren't you? You know, so do you really think that we, I mean, are you at all really worried? Like that's what I want to know. Probably not, right?
Of course I am. Of course I am. I said it last night. I say it again. I am worried. I'm always worried about playing Arsenal. This is, for me as a fan in someone of my age, it's an historic Premier League fixture. It's one that, in the context of this season, is. I kind of changing my tune throughout the course of the whole show. I think it's when I say equally as important, everyone's going to look at it from different angles. It's very big for both teams. Some will say bigger for Arsenal. Some will say bigger for Man United. I don't really care. It's big for both teams, and that makes me nervous. I think there's so many subplots and sub stories to this that for both, just away from the league tile, the fan bases, what people are going to think, the pressures that they then put on managers, the support going into somebody new. Man United go into a very simplistic run of games after this. To go into that with the positive results we've had against Villarreal and Chelsea, get a good victory tomorrow night. And then we played sort of 7 very, very winnable games throughout December. Who knows where that will leave us in the league table by the end of December? We could flop and do terribly. We could do really, really well and be well in the top 4, sort of looking to secure that Champions League space. But I am scared of it going wrong. I'm scared of a bad performance. I'm scared of there being no bounce. I'm scared of Arsenal putting in one of their recent stereotypical very good performances against Man United. I think any Man United fan who is not nervous about this game or doesn't feel like Arsenal could damage us, again, is lying to themselves. And I don't just turn around and say I think this fan base is lying. Like any Man United fan that's saying no worries, no concerns, we'll be fine. I think you're deluding yourself. I really do think they're bullshitting themselves.
Yeah, that's not really what I feel like I'm getting. I feel like I'm getting a very, very confident Man United fan base, you know, which you should be, you know, but I think, I don't know. I feel like it's not really like playing Man City or Liverpool, or for us, you know, it could end up being like that if we play bad, but I think we're more evenly matched than people make it out to seem. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. When you say more evenly matched, what do you mean?
Like I said it before, like as much as people don't rate our defense, it's pretty good unless we're playing against Man City or Liverpool. I don't think you guys are at that same level at the moment. You guys have a great offense, you know, so those things may cancel each other out. We have a less potent attack than you guys do, of course, but your defense is not great, you know, and so even if we're both up for the game, I can see it be a lot more even though it feels like the sentiment is Arsenal are getting slapped, like, you know, which is fine. I think it's better when we're kind of like the underdogs anyway, because nobody thinks we're going to win the game or get anything from it. So, yeah, but that's just kind of how I see it. I see a lot of confidence.
I see a lot of Man United fans saying that, and it's an interesting one because I can speak about what I think they've, you know, again, it's not me. You can clearly hear what I'm saying, and I take your point of saying, well, other Man United fans think different, and a lot of United fans think we're going to slap and smash Arsenal. I hope we do, of course. For again, it's not even an Arsenal reason. Take away rivalry for 1 minute. I would love a statement performance, something for us to build upon and lay down a marker for the future. Some Man United fans expect that. I think they're expecting it because of how we bounced when Ollie came in. I think there's almost that, well, we got that really good bounce from Ollie. We're going to get that bounce again. I'm hoping that happens. I'm not in 100% belief that it will. I think writing off Arsenal is ridiculous. I think writing off Arsenal is stupid. There's no doubt about it. And I think Man United fans that are doing that are setting themselves up for failure. They're setting themselves up. Some of them are doing it. Some of the social content creators are doing it because they want to be clipped. They want that moment that we're going to smash them 4-0 because they love being clipped because then they get traffic and their name goes out there. So a lot of people say things in previews so they get clipped, so that they get attention. And I look in their eyes and I'm like, there's no way you think we're going to stick 4 or 5 goals past them. It's going to be easy. We're going to trounce them like Liverpool did, because nobody's putting us on that level. If we did that, great. But I don't personally see it happening. So I'm what you're seeing from me is I'm excited about the game and what it's going to show us, because I think from both sides there's lots going on and it's intriguing to me, especially as someone who covered all the big teams and the top 6. I'm intrigued to see the fan bases. I'm intrigued to know what they're going to say before, during, and afterwards. All of that fan element to me is so key. It's why we exist as a channel, really. So, yeah, there's lots going on with that. We have a super chat here that's come through from my guy Josh. Says the defensive structure the last 2 games for United has been good. Arsenal don't score many away goals from home. Get an early goal and they will crumble, is what Josh has got to say. Up next on the show, we're going to talk a little bit about the transfer story, the Man United linked with Haidara from RB Leipzig. We spoke about it a couple of days ago on the Terrace. Now that has been confirmed by Christian Falk, of course, one of the leading German correspondents in this deal. Plus, the quickfire round is coming up very, very soon. Make sure you've smashed that like and share button. Let's do this. So, Amadou Haidara, I think it's pronounced Haidara, linked to Man United a few days ago by a couple of outlets in the UK. The German outlets have now followed suit, saying Ralph's got a great relationship with his team, great relationship with the player. The player in 2019 always stated United was his dream job. Defensive midfield player, a position that Man United fans have been screaming for. Do you know much about him yourself? Do you think he'd be a good signing for Man United?
I don't really know that much about him, if I'm honest. I know who he is, but I don't know much about him. I think he's like a CDM, so yeah, it's a position that you guys definitely need. And so it'll be interesting to see how the recruitment is going to change under Ralf Rangnick. I think that's maybe something that's being maybe shoved into a corner. You guys may not be going after the same star-studded players that you guys have been going after for the last couple of years. And so that might be a little bit of a change for your fan base. It'll be more based on analytics and data and whether or not that person fits in with the philosophy and not what their name is. So think about the difference between bringing in Amadou Haidara, that people don't really know who it is, not going to get people off their seats, versus getting a Declan Rice or something like that. So that's going to be a different vibe for you guys. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes. But it's definitely a position that you guys need. And if Ralph wants it, I'm sure he's a good player. He might have recruited him for Leipzig, and is just trying to bring him to Man United.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've kind of been looking at stuff on Y Scout, and I could be so wrong. He feels more box to box for me in terms of when you look at his heat map where he's touching and progressing the ball. It's on the right hand side, north of the halfway line. So in terms of, I've read in news articles, defensive midfielder. I've read things about him, it says defensive midfielder. But looking at the way he plays, he isn't sort of sitting in front of that back line protecting it. So it's intriguing if that's Ralph's first signing, where he sees him going in and who he sees him replacing. And the reports from Germany today are Paul Pogba's replacement, more so than a holding midfielder, a holding CDM. So I think from my point of view, again, these are little things that are really exciting me as a Manchester United fan, is going after players like this, as opposed to just always going after the stereotypical easy names, the names we're meant to be linked to, that everybody's linked to, that everybody's talking about. It's like, okay, and look, I wanted Sancho. Sancho's amazing, but it's like, I want to buy the Sancho before he's Sancho. I remember when we were linked with Koulibaly a few years ago, and I'm like, why don't we buy the next Koulibaly? And it's a little bit harder for players not to be as famous now because of the way the internet works. But did you get where I'm coming from? It's like, we need to buy the player before they're a brilliant player more often.
Are you sure though? Like, I mean, that's something that Arsenal's been criticized for a lot over the years, is that like the development aspect of things. You've even said that about Dortmund. Dortmund buy the player before they become the player. Does that really fit in with Man United trying to win titles? Is getting players before they're the guy and needing a little bit of development, because Haidara may not be somebody that steps straight in. He may be closer to like Sumare from Leicester that needs a couple of
Mm,
years and some shepherding by somebody else. So again, this goes back to you saying that you don't want to start over and do a rebuild. All of
mm.
that comes that's all mixed in together. If you're bringing in players that they're the player before the player, we are talking about something a little bit more spread out. It's not as go and get it done now. So do you
It's
guys
all
think about that? You know,
yeah. I
because
mean,
the
I think
player before the player is
there's two things on that. Buying the player before they're a player is such a typical Manchester United thing to do. It's what happened. Man United have always had the balance, the developing their own, buying young players before they're famous and turning them into stars,
that
and
used
buying
to be it.
superstars. So it's very much been it's part of our mantra as a football club
Mm.
for over 100 years. The amount you pay for players is relative. If you even, some of the, again, when you buy domestic young players, they were, Rooney was very well known. Like he was a young player we bought and developed at 18. The irony is he only came to the club a year older than what Ryan Giggs was, but Ryan Giggs is it came in via the youth door, so it was called a youth product. So we've always kind of done that. So yeah, for me, it's exactly what we should be doing. Signings are kind of a little bit obscure. They're never going to be complete unknowns anymore because of the internet, computer games, and everything else that comes along with it. I still want us to, when it comes to criticizing of Arsenal, I haven't criticized you for that. I think the players that you've signed have been tremendous. You know that. Barring Rams, that was the only one I kind of scoffed at. The other youngsters you bought, and including Tomiyasu, I said they were all great. I think it's the right thing to do. Do I feel like you need some star quality now put into that team? Yes. And that's where you've got to get the balance in those two things right. But if you can pick up a Haidara as an example for 30 million, rather than dropping 80, 90 million on a Declan Rice, and over a 2-year period, they become fairly similar in terms of overall quality, you've saved money that can be invested elsewhere. And that's what's important. You look at your right back situation, you may have picked up, I think Tomiyasu is excellent. Said it when you bought him, I'm saying it now. For what, 8 million quid? So other top fullbacks at the minute are being sold for 50, 60, 70 million pounds. If you end up picking one up who is of a higher level for 8 million quid, that gives you a lot more money elsewhere to play with, as long as the club do invest it. And that's the key thing, which goes away from the playing
Yeah.
staff when it comes. It's the club. Okay, well, we've saved 40 million pound. Where else are we going to reinvest that money? Is it going to go to renewing one of our star players' contracts? Is it going to go into these two more youngsters? On the Dortmund point that you made, the only problem with Dortmund's model is they have no desire to keep hold of those players. A little bit like the Leipzig projects, the RB projects that Ralf created. Their model is to buy young, develop, and sell for large amounts of money. That's their business commercial model, as opposed to their football model. So I don't want
Yeah.
that either. I don't want us picking up this kid now, developing him for 2 years, and then selling him for 90 million pounds to Real Madrid. That is
No,
just for
I don't
me.
think he will. He knows
Yeah,
the assignment. He knows he can't do that. I'm just saying it's a different philosophy that maybe some Man United fans are not used to. So when Declan Rice inevitably goes somewhere else and you end up with Haidara, you have to be not end up, but you get with Haidara, you have to be more patient because he won't come straight in and do that. I think you know what I mean?
yeah, he may not. He may. Do you know it's one of them things? It's I actually thought Sambi would take a little bit longer to settle, but I think he's done really, really well. Where's Hadara age wise? I swear, I want to say I could be so wrong here. I wanted to say he's 22. I might be well over cooking that. He's 23. He's gonna be 24 this season, so he ain't that young. So by the time if we get him in January, he turns 24. He's older than Marcus Rashford, I think. So I would expect him to perform almost straight away. A little embedding period. But for me, at 23, turning 24, how many games has he played in his career in total? That's one thing I didn't check. I mean, he's played 203 games in his career. Like I would expect, I don't know about you, but I would expect someone of that level to
Um, y-
start playing straight away.
yeah, I mean, I think recent examples of players coming from the Bundesliga, even La Liga,
True.
it's never that simple. Kai Havertz, he took a while to get cooking, you know. Werner never started cooking at all. So, I think it could go either way. That's not really my point. I think anybody that Ralf Rangnick brings in for the most part, it'll be like 90%, success rate, so it is what it is. It's just more of a longer you just have to have more patience with players
Mm.
that are obscure and and be okay with them not having star names. And I think over the last couple of years, maybe that's been the majority of what you guys have done. There's
Yeah.
has been some other ones sprinkled in, but I think that'll be a bigger
Yeah.
part of your philosophy, and it's just going to change a
Some
little
Man
bit.
United fans won't like it, but then listen, there's Man United fans that are negative about everything. So it's abide the by, really. Up
Yeah.
next, ladies and gentlemen, it's a quick fire round. So quick fire questions to Jess and I. I'm going to start it off. You guys can get them in. Get your member chats in. Get your super chats in. We want to get them in from you right about now for the last period of the show. Make sure you've smashed that like button for us as well. Let's do this. So, quick fire round coming up. Before we do the quick fire round, though, actually, we're going to reveal who the midfielder was. Now, Jess picked midfielder B. A lot of you picked B. A lot of you picked C. They were the main two to be kind of picked out and pushed. I'm going to reveal now. The winner. Not the winner, but these are the people. Jess, you did pick B. That is Scott McTominay. A was Thomas Partey. C was Fabinho. In relation to their statistical output this season per 90 minutes played. So I just thought it was interesting today. I was just looking at different stats and different bits and pieces. And it's interesting how someone like Scott McTominay, that we know has had a very poor season in certain statistical areas, is stripping he's on par with and stripping. The only midfielder that I put into the mix today that was up far and above everybody was Declan Rice. Everybody else, there was like some areas they were better than McTominay, and other areas they were not so great in terms of that. It just goes to show that you need eye test and statistics together. If your eye test is true, then the statistics don't lie. But statistics by themselves, they don't always show the complete and total picture. For me, I thought it was hilarious that in those three, Scott McTominay statistically was the better of all three, which is just a madness to me, because he isn't as good as Thomas Partey and he isn't as good as Fabinho. He hasn't shown that so far to me anyway, but yeah, certainly an intriguing one. In terms of the quick fire questions, my first question is going to be for you though. Are Arsenal top 4 quality?
No, I've said this so many different times, and like, I do not think we're going to make top 4. I don't think we're close to it. I still think we're a little bit far away. So for me, no. If we made it into the top 4, it'd be because somebody else is not performing well and we slipped in. So top 6 is kind of where we're at, I think. And yeah, I don't think even being near it right now makes me think anything different. We're not there yet. So yeah, no, we're not top 4 quality.
Sarim here says no. Footy Chat says nope, top 8 at best. I agree with you. I think top 6. I think that's where you'll be in and around. I don't necessarily believe in, by the end of the season, I don't believe in false positions, because there's enough time over the course of a year to change things. Does that make sense? Like Man United have made a managerial change to fix themselves. If we don't, though, and we finish behind Arsenal, then Arsenal are better than us. That's at least in the context of this season. I don't believe in end of the season false positions. I do believe sometimes, you can have your poor form at the start of the season that kind of drops you to 9th. But then the second half of the season you end up finishing 5th. So it's not that it doesn't deter that first half form, but that's that's how good you were. It's hard to assess who's better than who at this stage, because you're only sort of a third of the way through.
If we finish in front of you guys, will you guys be able to use the whole Oli tax thing as an argument for why? I keep asking that because I feel like some people will, if you guys don't finish in the top 4, which you may not, that it's false because you guys didn't have the manager. But just like Tuchel had the turnaround that he had with Chelsea, and you gave him kind of all the plaudits for that. Equally, if a new manager comes in and you don't get that level of resurgence, whatever, then it is what it is, isn't it? Or is it we didn't have the right manager, so throw the season away?
Oli tax is real in the context of the season, because if Ralph's form, it's all about everybody else's form. Let's just say West Ham, Man United, and Arsenal now have amazing form to the end of the season, and from this point forward, there's a hair's breadth between us all. Arsenal's levels are brilliant, West Ham are amazing, and Man United turn up massively. But we finished 2 points off of the top 4. We've got slightly more points than you all, but then Ollie's bad start has cost us, because Ralf has shown that he could get us performing at the same level as you. But if you add that into our beginning part of the season, if we had more points there, that makes sense. So it coincides with what Tuchel did. Tuchel was able to win the Champions League because he implemented himself very quickly and got the team playing, but he couldn't get Chelsea into a title race because they were too far behind because of what Lampard did. So no one had a go at Chelsea last season and said Tuchel's crap because he didn't get Chelsea into a title race. So for me, he still has to have the expectation of making it into the top four, and then we assess how well he does with that. But in terms of title race, yeah, Ollie tax is real. Not making the top four, I think our squads and team are so superior to West Ham and Arsenal's that even being 5 points behind you now with this amount of games to go isn't a good enough excuse in its entirety, unless Arsenal and West Ham prove to me they're even better than they are. And I'm talking about you two only, both of your clubs only losing one, maybe two more games all season, drawing only 2 or 3 more games and winning the rest. Then it's a case of Jesus Christ, they were actually a lot better than I thought. But if you guys lose another 4 or 5 games, draw 4 or 5, but we're not able to create better consistency than you, that's still going to be on Ralf and Man United. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, no, I just wanted to
Or is
make
that
sure
unfair? Do you think that's unfair? Do you think that's unfair?
No, I think there has to be some expectation, but I already I anticipate you guys being able to get into the top 4 because you should. Even with just a decent manager, you should be able to get top 4, but if you guys don't, I can easily see it being a throwout season because Oli was there. Oli may have not been good enough for you guys to get the title, but top 4, especially with West Ham and Arsenal not being as good, which is the narrative. We're not as good, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. There's also Spurs that everybody feels like is going to jump up the table as well. So, I think it's going to be more difficult than maybe some Manchester United fans think. I don't think it's going to be get a new manager and all of a sudden everybody else falls off. Equally, still got to get top 4. And if he doesn't get it, it's still kind of on him a little bit,
Yeah, partly on him. It just depends on everybody else's form, but yes, I hear you. It's the what I don't want, which I know will happen. It will be United fans go, oh, I'm really happy we made top 4. Why are you celebrating top 4? That's not an achievement. But our season starts now under Ralf. This is where our season under Ralf. This is where it starts from. I can't judge Ralf based on things that Ollie did wrong. That doesn't make any sense. That's just, you get what I mean? That's completely nonsensical. Fans will try to, but it's a ridiculous notion. It's like Chelsea have got a sack Tuchel last season because he wasn't in the title race. He didn't take it. I mean, that's the way I look at these things. So yeah, you're right. We have to look at it contextually. But I expect Man United to make the top 4, not because anyone else is going to drop off. We've just got the much better squad. Dinesh says, afternoon, Terry and Jessica. What do you think Jack Wilshere saying that he would have Arteta as manager over Klopp or Pep? Yeah, I mean, what's your take on that, Jess?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think we'd all take Pep or Klopp, so I mean, that's his opinion. If I had the option of Pep or Klopp, I'd take one of them. So yeah. I don't know. I don't know why he said that. I didn't even know he did, but maybe he's just knows that he's working with. I mean, he works for the club now, so it might just be a little bit of, Arteta's giving me an opportunity.
Did he work for Arsenal?
Well, he's training and he's doing his coaching badges and coaching the under 17. So I don't think it's necessarily that he feels like those are better managers. I mean, the reason why he's doing that is because Arteta brought him in kind of from the cold, so he may not really believe that.
Yeah, well, if he wants, if he wants a job there or he is working there, then it makes complete. That's your answer, Dinesh. That is your answer. That is your answer. Any questions for me, Jess, from you?
I don't think I did my homework on that. Because we're going to do score predictions, right?
Yes, that's coming up.
We're going to do score predictions. I don't know. I mean, when Ralf Rangnick leaves, what manager do you want to come in? Do you still think it's Poch, or do you think it's somebody else, or what would you prefer?
I want him to convince Zidane myself, but then a lot of people are saying that the systems don't compute. Now that Ralph's here, if Ralf wants to implement his style and feels he can do it with this squad without a massive overhaul, that's my caveat. I'd love him to try and convince Nagelsmann to come. I love Julian Nagelsmann. I think I'd love him. I don't know if he could. He's only been at Dortmund, at Bayern Munich. This is his first season, right? At Bayern Munich?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost impossible. That's who I like. Magic wand. That's who I would like. I don't see it being him. I've got a lot of people don't agree with this, but I've got a sneaky feeling it could be Ten Hag. And I know their styles of football are not the same, but equally, I think Ten Hag, if he comes to the Premier League, can't play Dutch football anyway. I don't know. Something about it. I think there has to be an element of an adaptation. And I'm not a tactical expert, but I was reading something about Pep Guardiola and how his Barca team don't play exactly the same as his City team. There are differences depending on the leagues that he's in. And that's what top class managers learn to do. So I think there's almost this element of you could bring Ten Hag in and you marry him up with a technical director like Ralf, and you kind of amalgamate those styles to make it Premier League proof. And that could, I don't see why that couldn't work. You know, some people say no way, but we don't know. None of us sitting on this stream, watching, listening, talking, have the football knowledge they do. So it could be him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want it to be someone young, up and coming, future superstar. Because all the major superstars are already at clubs. We're not getting any of the best 2 or 3 managers in the world. It's impossible. So a young up-and-coming superstar that's been there or thereabouts, that fans are going to get behind, that will play a beautiful style of football, who will coach our young players to that next level. That's what I really want. And then at the same time, we remain competitive, which I think Ten Hag and Nagelsmann and these guys really could deliver and do. So yeah, that's what I would quite like to see. Terry, Werner is leaving Chelsea. Ralf wants him at Man United. Do you want him? No, thank you. We've got Marcus Rashford and Greenwood, who are superior in every single which way. Maybe not on speed when you compare him to Greenwood. But yeah, no disrespect to Timo Werner, but absolutely not. However, if Ralf Rangnick fought tooth and nail for him because he's like, in my system, he'll score 25, 30 goals a season. I have made this statement already that as long as things are going well under Ralf, I would sit back and go, it's not my preference, but I'll give you that opportunity. As a fan, I wouldn't even say Arsenal are top 4 quality. Maybe best of the rest quality. Terry, I appreciate you actually having Arsenal fans on for Arsenal-related discussions, unlike some channels on YouTube. Yeah, look, we've got a plethora of different Arsenal fans that come on. You know, JESS and Ligue 1 are chalk and cheese when it comes to their view on Arsenal. People tell me I don't have any variety. We do. It's just, it is what it is. Differences of opinions matter most. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone that has tuned in, a massive thank you to each and every one of you. Jess, thank you as ever. Brilliant show. Thank you very much for your input. I really appreciate it. What time are we live on your channel? 6:30.
30 minutes.
So in 30 minutes, we're over on Shino's Arsenal. So get yourself across there as well. Get yourself subscribing to that. I'm also back live tonight after the matches, Liverpool, Everton, Merseyside derby. So make sure you're tuning in for that one. Until then, take care. Goodbye. God bless.